So the image that we're seeing here is the logo for Elon Musk's Grok. Now, there's been much discussion about what this means. Straight away, what comes to mind is of course Saturn. Many others have talked about it being a black hole, and in fact it's many things, but it is a black hole, and it is Saturn in the fact that it feels like Saturn in sympathetic magic. It's also Saturn's Benar on the Kabbalah tree of life, which is understanding, which is kind of Grok's slogan. So it's all of those things. But in my latest research, I found that it also encompasses what's called a black Saturn, which is a black hole. A black Saturn is a theoretical object in higher dimensions, where a rotating black hole is surrounded by a rotating black ring, resembling a planet with rings. These objects are held in a kind of equilibrium by the angular momentum of both the central black hole and the black ring. That's really important, the angular momentum. The angular momentum, which must spin to prevent the ring from collapsing. Now, this is really important when you talk about the signs and symbols and where this comes from. This is the black Saturn tilt. So remember, it means all of these things. It means a black hole, it means Saturn, it means understanding, and other things as well. These signs and symbols work on multiple levels, and the most important thing is the context and the transmitter person giving the sign and the receiver, those who are receiving it obviously, of what it actually means to them. So it's a coded term inside all of these symbols depending on the context. So we're all often arguing about what these things mean when it likely means all of them depending on the context. So the black Saturn angle, or the tilt. Now this was really interesting to me. A while back, Elon Musk got himself in all sorts of trouble for doing what most people thought was a Nazi salute. It wasn't a Nazi salute. Some researchers said that it was a old Roman salute, which I believe it was, on one level. And that was to signify the fall of Rome, the fall of the West to this death cult. But it was also the tilt. Now, my latest research, I believe that this was also the tilt, the black Saturn angle. Look where his arm is, and now look at the X logo. He's striking it up above his right shoulder. And the before and the after, they've thickened that point, that strike point on the X logo. X is obviously a logo for Saturn, it's a symbol for Saturn. So what I believe he's telling you there, is that they're adjusting the tilt and able to hold these black Saturn black holes open a little bit longer. The door has become more solidified. And we'll talk about later why these black Saturn angles, these black Saturn black holes that are not Saturn, remember, we're not talking about the planet Saturn, we're talking about the fact that it resembles Saturn, that's why they're called black Saturn holes, but they're not the planet Saturn, although they have connotations to Saturn. This is a small fragment of a second black hole that they can open up into possibly other dimensions, but they can't keep it open. And look what it says here about the rotational frame dragging. So the process of what happens from that tilt. Rotational frame dragging, also known as the lens-Thirring effect, is a phenomenon predicted by Albert Einstein's The Theory of General Relativity, where a massive rotating object twists and drags the surrounding space-time with it. It bends space-time. Now look at the Neuralink logo. If you're attaching your mind to this system, they will likely or possibly have the ability to bend space and time, so you will perceive reality differently. It twists and drags space-time. He's telling you in all these logos what happens. And these may mean different things depending on the context. From what I've come to here, this is what I'm sharing today. This effect causes nearby test particles for gyroscopes to precess or change their orientation, and it can influence astrophysical phenomenon like black hole jets and accretion disks. This is space and time. It's bending space and time, and I believe he's telling us in the logo that they've managed to open one of these doorways up a little bit longer, and for it to become more solidified in places like CERN. And yes, they have been experimenting with these in CERN, going all the way back to at least 2007. So let's just recap that. Frame dragging, altering the simulation, if you believe we live in a simulation, which is the visible light spectrum inside the electromagnetic spectrum that we spoke about last week, which is inside the dark matter. All of that, if you buy into the simulation theory, because this clearly is an intelligent design, whatever you label it as, we are stuck within the perception of visible light. In the specific black Saturn solution of general relativity, which involves a central rotating black hole surrounded by a rotating black ring, the frame dragging effect, the tilt, also known as the Lenz-Thurman effect, is the phenomenon of space-time itself being twisted and dragged by the spinning masses. This dragging causes observers and objects nearby to be unable to remain at rest, really important, forcing them to rotate with the black hole and black ring. You can't stay at rest. So when you get this information and you look at all this stuff, they bung a load of other information at you, so you can't stay at rest. You're always looking, always searching, always second guessing yourself. Did I get that right? Does that symbol mean that? When it actually means most of these things, depending on the context. That's the point. You are not allowed to be at rest. They create chaos. They learn from all of these natural, if you want to say that, if we're in a simulation, there's nothing natural about it at all. They learn from the way this place is programmed and designed, and use those secrets, pass down the secret mystery schools to manipulate you and your perception. Spinning black objects warp space and time. Now this is from 2007. Atom Smasher may give birth to black Saturns. Remember, we're not talking about the planet, we're talking about black holes that resemble Saturn. New Scientist 2007. If we ever make black holes on Earth, they might be much stranger objects than the star-swallowing monsters known to exist in space. According to a new theory, any black hole that pops out of the Large Hadron Collider, under construction in Switzerland, remember this was 2007, might be surrounded by a black ring, forming a microscopic black sun. And I've just realised, even doing this, that 2007 was when it was being built, which would be the Sabbath, the day of rest, after the 6th day of creation. They were creating this black hole technology, forming a microscopic black Saturn, a microscopic black hole that would suck some of the matter into it. A black hole and black ring can coexist in theory as long as they are set spinning. They always have to be in perpetual motion. Say Heinrich L. Lang of MIT in Cambridge, US, and Paul Figueres of University of Barcelona in Spain. If you just had a ring, it would collapse. It's essential that it rotates to keep balance, like a spinning top. Can only stay upright and drag the world around it, thus time. If it's spinning, it's in perpetual motion. It's a giant Hoover, the big ones. But they're creating small ones of these in CERN, as we've seen with the celebration of what they did with the Gotham Tunnel and what was coming through there, what goes in and what comes out. These doorways are doorways, like any doorway would have two sides to it, and they go both ways. So you would have to have, like in your house, if your front door, you have inside your house and outside your house. You need 2 dimensions there, and a doorway between the two. But you can go in and out, unless you lose your keys when you're drunk, or post them through the letterbox. Did that. That's what you're looking at here. The logical understanding of these doorways, so that there's 2 sides for this to be a doorway, like a tunnel. And these are different from wormholes, by the way. They are a different thing. Atom smasher may give birth to black Saturn, so this is a continuation of that article. If so, the detectors at the LHS, Large Hadron Collider, will light up. Physicist Stephen Hawking worked out in the 1970s that black holes evaporate, so they don't stay around forever, shedding their gravitational energy as so-called Hawking radiation, or back into the plasma of what they call dark matter, of the fifth element of this construction wherever we are. Smaller ones evaporate faster, and any made in the LHC would last a tiny fraction of a split second, producing a burst of all kinds of subatomic particles. Elang's hole and ring combinations would do the same, but probably with a distinct pattern, so the theory could be put to test. Of course, there are a lot of ifs attached. The probability of large extra dimensions is still considered slim. Well, I don't see how, because if there's a this side of it, there has to be a that side of it. It's just logic. And it is not clear whether a black Saturn would actually stabilise before evaporating, and that's why you go back to the X logo and have a look at the update, the before and after. I think they've stabilised it, the tilt, a lot longer than they were able to before. But there is an outside chance that in a few years, in a tunnel near Geneva, remember 2007, physicists will make a black hole far smaller than a proton and circled by a squashed 4-dimensional black donut. So it keeps on spinning and has a fleeting appearance. I think that they're able to open these things up longer. This is technology that's really just replicating what they were able to do back then with the Ark of the Covenant, which was a bit of technology, in my opinion, that opened up a portal. Could have been a wormhole, which is different from a black hole. And what they did in rituals, these sacrificial rituals, talking to the gods, communicating outside of our visible light spectrum. Have we already been sucked in? Now this was, again, just questions. That's what this show's about, asking these questions and theorising ourselves and coming up with concepts. This is the way we come to any conclusion and answers. We ask these questions, these strange out there questions. I'm not claiming to have the answers to any of these questions. I'm just observing what these people are doing and questioning what they're questioning and why they're doing it. Have we already been sucked in? The end of the Golden Age. Was the Golden Age the end of us passing through a black hole? There was 2 suns. There was the main sun, Ra, and there was Saturn, which was the more prominent sun before it had rings. The golden age of Saturn, they say, when we lived in equilibrium and everything was hunky-dory in the Garden of Eden. Did we pass through some sort of vortex that moved the planets around? It's a possibility. Something happened. The flood of Gilgamesh, Noah. Something happened. And I believe it has to do with them moving about of the planets. Maybe the bringing in of the moon that maybe shouldn't be there, some researchers say. Our reality, think outside the box. There's a reason why people say that. Are we inside the box already? If you look at a quantum computer, which we will do later, they're boxes, they're cubes. It's an aesthetic thing, but actually when you look at it, it has to be built that way. It can't be observed, because then it changes it. Again, all stuff that we've covered of how the nature of reality works. Beyond the visible light spectrum, over the rainbow. Are we living inside the matrix cube and within that, under the rainbow of visible light? Inside out, ring fenced. If Saturn's rings are not natural, and David talks about this in many of his books, about these spaceships being seen to fire what looks like crystalline material or plasma into the rings to keep them there. If they're not natural, are they holding us in a prison this side of an ancient black Saturn hole? Are we being kept this side, or is that sucking something through that's functioning in a way that's holding this place at the tilt that we're in, this planet or this prison or this simulation or this game or this reality, whatever you want to call it? And you know, I don't really see it as a prison. I see that we came here as guardians of the prime reality. That's now, I might change my mind in the future. So they don't mess this place up, thus affecting, by the law of sympathetic magic, the prime reality. Looks like, feels like. Prime reality, black Saturn, electromagnetic reality. Visible light spectrum we perceive as our world. That's really where we are. So we, according to the Gnostics and other teachings, we would have a prime reality. Maybe we went through a black Saturn black hole, something like that, a vortex, sucked in through that, and moved all the planets around. Then we became engulfed in the plasma of electromagnetic reality, shut down in these bodies, invisible light. That's all we can perceive as our world. And if you think that they aren't doing these things, they absolutely are. Cornell University, black Saturn. Using the inverse scattering method, we constructed an exact stationary, asymptotically flat 4 + 1 dimension vacuum solution describing the black Saturn, a spheric black hole surrounded by a black ring. Angular momentum keeps the configuration in equilibrium. They've already said that they can create these things. They're already doing this. And this was a while back. So have they been able to keep these doors open? I believe they have. And what are they allowing in? And what are they sending that way? And is that the entity that's teaching these lunatics how to create things like artificial intelligence? Although I don't have a problem with artificial intelligence, I don't have a problem with any technology, I only have a problem with how it's being used and manipulated and sold to us as becoming sentient and something you've got to join. Like a hammer, I have no problem with using AI to create things like art or computer games. But I have a problem when you're trying to stick it in your body and attach your brain to it. There is a big difference there. The collapse. It's important to understand that once a black hole forms, it is a stable object. It's not a star or other celestial object that could be held up by external forces. It is the result of a complete collapse. So the black hole is the complete collapse in the middle, and the vortex is sucking everything in it with the till, keeping the black hole open. And they call the center a singularity. That's what they call the center. So when they're saying attached to the singularity, what are they really truly talking about? If we're all connected to the singularity, are we all sucked into this black hole? Probably. If it's a hole, then what's on the other side of the door? Is it an exit door? Now this is a fascinating way of theorizing. If a wormhole is like a corridor between your house, it's your hallway, you're going from one room to the next, but it's all within this reality, or alternative realities within this realm, so parallel realities, you're going from one to the next, it's still within the simulation. Is a black hole an exit door out of the simulation, or was it the way we were trapped in? And if it was an in, then it has to be an out. If it's an innie, it has to be an outie. Put that on a t-shirt. Einstein would never come up with that, would he? If there's an innie, it has to be an outie. Wormhole versus black hole. A black hole is a known celestial object with immense gravity, formed from collapsed stars, that traps everything and anything, including light, that crosses its event horizon. The event horizon is the vortex where you get pulled in. They say we're in an event horizon now, or beyond the event horizon of AI. It's too late to go back. I don't believe that. It's a machine. A wormhole is a theoretical tunnel through space-time, a corridor. An Einstein-Rosen bridge is called that as well, that could connect two separate points and potentially allow travel, though they require hypothetical negative energy to remain open and are not proven to exist. The Montauk project talked about this a lot, how they used Einstein-Rosen bridge to connect into other realms and see into other places through psychics and children with psychic abilities. That's a fascinating thing to look into, and how it's connected to the Phoenix project and where that boat went when it disappeared. These are all these are all wormholes. The black holes are different. There is a difference between the two. But wormholes, location within the simulation. It's a corridor between parallel realities, and a black hole, could it be the exit entrance door or the way of changing this place? AI Saturn black cube. Are we inside a quantum computer? Has it already happened? A quantum computer is often described as a black box or black cube. Obviously Saturn, the Star of David or Seal of Solomon, Israeli flag, is the black cube as well. Because the quantum processes inside are highly sensitive and difficult to observe or open without disrupting the computation. Exactly, you can't look at it or change it. Leading to the term black box. While some companies have built visibly striking machines like IBM Q's System 1, a 9-foot black glass cube, this is an aesthetic choice. The black box nature of quantum computing is a fundamental aspect of quantum mechanics, not just a physical design. There's a reason why it has to be done like that. And at the bottom there you have the black cube of Saturn, you have the X logo with the thickened out doorway there on the tilt. You have Saturn itself, the planet, Binar, understanding, IXXI is 9/11, when we went over into this next chapter. And then there's obviously Kronos there, eating his children, which would be the black cube, which would be the black hole, swallowing everything. So here are all Elon Musk's logos. The black Saturn, theoretical in higher dimensions, and that's grok, understanding. Saturn tilt, which is X, angular momentum of the ring and hole, and the doorway into other places, parallel universes, or other realities, or outside the simulation. Warp, space and time, which is Neuralink. That's what it looks like to me, connecting us into the cybernetic system there and warping the space and time, the way you perceive the world. And the Baphomet logo is the Tesla logo. So above as below, FX prime reality. So above as below obviously is the Seal of Solomon or Star of David, which fits in again to the cube of Saturn. This is all linked. So the grok logo is, to me, both Saturn in its sympathetic magic, as well as a Saturn black hole. The tilt of the X and how thick it's got in the updated version is how solidified and how long they can keep these black hole doors open. This is what they are doing. Hi guys, I'm here to tell you about our brand new weekly show, Focus. This is an exclusively subscriber-based show. Each week, you guys will get to pick between 3 topics for me to go away and research and bring the results back to you the following week in our brand new show. Again, this is just exclusive to our subscribers to say thank you for everything that you've done for us for the last 6 years and the continued support. So comment below and tell me which one of these for our first episode of Focus you would like me to focus on. So the number 7, the importance of the number 7, a specific time travel encounter, which I'll find one, or a specific alien abduction encounter. Again, I will find that. So what would you like me to look into and focus on? The lucky number 7, what that really means, a time travel case, or an alien abduction case? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you next week for the very first episode of Focus.